I've read it somewhere very famously. Teach as if they're going to work for you forever, and treat so that they never leave you.
What made you say no then?
Good question.
Hello, Outplayers. Let me tell you a story of a multidimensional individual today whom I met in just another event. But the topic that we connected on was not so common. With that being our first conversation, I started following him on LinkedIn, tried understanding and decoding his content, which happened to be on thought leadership and strategic thinking. Hence, proceeded the conversations, which I found to be very fruitful. And that is what we'll share with you today. With that being said, let's welcome our guest of the day, Mr. Roshan Kotla. Hi, Roshan.
Hello,
Welcome to
Lucky.
Outliers Playbook.
Thank you.
And let me directly dive into something which has been an important part of your journey. So, just when your business was in growth phase, it hit this unprecedented situation, which everyone knows, COVID. How did you manage to grow your business in spite of that?
I think everybody who's been through that phase will know the answer, that nobody knew the answer. So
Mhm.
today, when we look back, I think I can tell you what worked, but I don't think anybody has a right answer. But if there is a situation again, we can look back at this. And in simple words, the answer is we took up any work that came our way, because we started as a training company. We were into a lot of career making.
Mhm.
But the moment this happened, and obviously there were multiple opportunities coming our way, we didn't say no to anything, because, and the reason behind was not just an individual capacity, an individual decision of how do we look after our family or ourselves during a phase such as COVID. It is also the team that we were carrying along with us, because it's when you run a company or a business, if you're 10 people, and if they have an average of 4 people per family, you're talking about every decision that you take impacting 40 people.
Right.
So the moment you put that hat on and say, okay, you have to make sure all these 40 go through, you just can't choose anything at that point in time. So we just took everything, any work that came our way to start with.
And in such a turmoil, how did you manage to provide the psychological safety to this side of the family of yours?
To be honest, I think it was restricted to our team members. It was a
Mhm.
small team of 6 members at that time, and I think in a way it helped that we were so loaded with work that nobody had the mental space
Mhm.
to look back or look around and be afraid of what's happening. And
Mhm.
sometimes you see a lot and you feel, oh, what if it happens to me or my family?
Right.
And and truly we were so, I think everybody was working 12 to 14 hours, because everybody was working from home. It was the initial phase, and thankfully nobody got affected, or nobody in the near and dear family got affected.
Hmm.
So in a way it helped our team members, that they were not looking at a sorry picture, they were looking at a hopeful picture of, oh yes, we've got so much of work. So even in such turmoil situation, there's a ray of light, that there's so much work coming our way. We didn't know how much work, but there was only more and more work coming, keeping all of us busy with our works. So I think it was looked upon as a positive note, because otherwise people are thinking, shut down offices, shut down everything, how will we survive, will the business survive? But it did a world of good for us, because we were accepting all the works.
So you're able to turn the tide of time.
Oh,
Why?
that probably would be a big statement, but the time favored us in a way that
I
helped
see.
us.
But I'm sure it wouldn't have been easy to get that kind of work and even be able to manage situations where time and cost were of essence. So tell me, how did you balance the time and cost?
So before I talk about time and cost, you said, how do you even get that amount of work to
Yes.
start with?
Yes.
And so there is a bigger story behind how I got that work, because it was even within the first year of our operations, or uh, how do I say, incorporation, the pandemic hit and all of these stories happened.
Right.
So nobody gets so much work in first year, right?
Yeah.
So it was what happened in the previous 2 to 3 years, where I obviously so it was not a planned journey when I started, or even if you talk about 4 or 5 years back, that we have to start our own company, and whatever we're doing today was not what we've always imagined.
Right.
But it happened that I was very active in the community, and people already. I was working at a previous startup. I was at another startup before starting our own, and I think the the part of community played a major role for establishing the credibility, because, like I said, we started as a training company,
Right.
and by then had done decent amount of work within the Salesforce community, or Trailblazer community, if I should be more precise. And once you establish credibility for your public work, I think, and even now I say it's not just what happened 10 years back or 8 years back. Even today, I strongly believe, and I'm a very strong advocate of personal brands,
Yes.
and using social media at an effect of creating credibility, showing whatever you do genuinely. People say, okay, why should we put out everything? But I feel, as long as you are doing it genuinely and you think somebody can get inspired, or you are creating credibility of your own work so that you get more work, because if your work has good meaning and reason, why not let more people know and do more of that? Because if you are honestly believing what you're doing is for the right cause. So I think that happened, honestly. Around 17 when I came back to India, and 17, 18, 19, there was a lot of work that I already did in that short period, which established good connections, credibility, and that credibility converted or flowed into the work that came in after the company was established. So that's the story of how the work came in.
Although this was about getting the work through the personal brand, but I'm sure there would have been some decisions related to the investment, and you would have many options on how to invest, especially given that your business is a self-financed one. How did you weigh those options and decide, okay, which one is the right option to go with?
Again, honestly, anybody who started an IT business will tell you it doesn't need a lot of money for you to start an IT consulting firm, because the biggest investment is resources. I
Right.
mean, people,
Yes.
their salaries. You could still do a lot of remote work. You can take a small setup anywhere. Like most product startups we see starts from the car garage, all the
Yeah.
famous ones.
True.
We wouldn't say it started from a car garage, but I think we started without an office, because any IT company doesn't need a lot of investment.
Right.
But having said that, they were still weighing the options. That concept came in terms of which one to do. Like I said, it was only after the pandemic hit we said, okay, we'll take anything and everything. Until then, there was other CRM works that were coming in. There were questions of, hey, most common question that came in was not as a business person. It was more like, hey, we know you, leave the company, just join us as full time. This happened more often than not in the first 2 years, because I think that is the norm. A lot of people start their own and they're pretty much operating with 2 or 3 size companies. We were also 5 or 6 people.
Yeah.
And there were more of those offers which I had to weigh. Because if somebody is paying upfront a very huge amount of money and giving you a very established or a coveted position in their respective companies, it was really hard to say a no to a lot of those positions in the initial phase. And saying no to that is probably helped. Yeah, I think that's what helped in terms of that's where the biggest or the most number of times the weighing aspect came in, and I had to choose more than the business. It was, okay, how do I say no to these people while still having an option of getting business from these people? Because they were big partners, and some of them later converted as our clients as well.
Interesting. And what made you say no then?
Good question. I Yeah, I think because we started as a training company, and even now I'm a strong advocate of sustainable careers, and why you are doing what you're doing. So there's maybe I can put out in words in a better way today with more experience, but the mindset of why are we doing what we're doing was always there. And I think the kind of offers that I was getting was kind of defeating the purpose of what we were doing at that time, which was building careers, or trying to build careers of people around us, either through teaching and training them. And I don't believe careers is just teaching and training. It's also, so now we have a team. It's also building their careers. having these entire team that we have meeting their financial goals or professional goals, and still having a a balance in their life.
Mm.
uh, when I look at that, I don't think I would have been able to achieve in those positions. I may or may not have, but at that time I didn't feel any of those positions or the offers would have met this purpose of helping people make careers in either of these ways.
So you're very clear about your purpose, and that purpose has been the key
I
to the
wouldn't say I was
drive.
super clear. No, I'd be lying if I say I'd be super clear. But
Okay.
uh, because I was not super clear, I could not do that. And when I look back, maybe it was this mindset that I had, which kind of made me, you know, how do I say, weigh upon not taking that
Mm.
versus saying yes to a big number that was offered.
I see. And you talked about how it had been a career building company,
Correct.
right? Now I understand that you have expanded your business in various ways. Tell me what inspired that and how did you do that?
Well, I don't know how if I'm going to be a good inspiration or bad inspiration, but I should say a lot of things fell in place. But there is a lesson in it that maybe we did a lot of things right with the
Mm-hmm.
right approach
Mm-hmm.
or with the right intent. So I generally believe that if you do something with the right intent for a long time, things happen which don't have any logical explanation.
Mm.
So even in this case, those 2 years when we said yes to all kinds of work,
Mm.
third year opened up much bigger opportunities which we didn't anticipate. We were not even looking. So it happened. They came to us. So
Mm.
a lot of things that happened came to us because we just put down our head and did our work for a major part of our first 2.5 years.
Mm.
And the kind of partnerships. So obviously business opens up when you have network and partnerships, and I'll not go into the details of what kind and with who, but
Definitely.
it opened up more partnerships
Mm-hmm.
and ventures
Mm-hmm.
which put us in a different map internationally,
Yeah.
and helped us achieve the goal of, okay, what kind of people we want to have in our team. Our team is a diverse, our team is diverse in terms of the backgrounds where they come from. So in simple words, only 10% of people have had previous experience of working on that platform before they joined us. So yeah, we could give a lot of opportunities to people coming from varied backgrounds who wanted to build a career in this ecosystem, and we are happy that all of them have succeeded and are still continuing either with us or with some other partner. But so that all of that happened because those partnerships opened in the third year of our operation. So I'd say the first 2 years of us doing everything and anything opened up, and yeah, got us into situations and positions where we could explore more and started saying yes to, the options changed from getting a job offer to a business offer. I think that's how I can put it in the best way.
That is an awesome journey. And talking about the consulting side of things, let's imagine a hypothetical situation that there could have been any other offer that would have came from a partner, or even if someone would have tried to acquire the company, what would you have done in that case?
We did get some acquisitions. They were not very detailed in their approach,
Mm-hmm.
but in simple words, it was more like, give us your team
Mm.
and we'll give you this money types.
Oh.
But like I said, because the kind of team we built,
Mm.
I don't think even today, I think we are not very open to any acquisitions unless the the mindset and how unless the operational mindset is matching, because
Right.
we are where we are because of the team.
Yeah.
And if somebody just wants to buy the team, they are not going to, most likely they may not go deeper into how they've come here, what they want in life, because you have to talk to every member of the team, understand their backgrounds. I've done all of that. So
Mm.
somebody buying the team, I'm not so sure. So, and the kind of the approach that we got so far at that time was
Mm.
generally for that. So we have absolutely partnered with others for our team to work with.
Mm.
But when you talk about acquisition, it's almost giving away yours and slowly phasing away. So I think we were never in that position because of the reason I mentioned, and even now we are not in the position of doing
Which
that.
reminds me of an interesting conversation where I asked you what are your core values, and this in itself speaks very strongly about
I
your
think we
core
discussed about
values.
this where we said, you asked me why are you even doing this or what's your
Exactly.
so it's I think we think there's real enjoyment in building it from scratch and using your value system and trying something and see it bears fruit, because today I think it has, it's not about how many fruits or how big the fruit is, but I've seen results, and that further emphasizes that if you go with the right value, I think companies are built of value. All major big entrepreneurs will tell you that whatever value system you have, you stick to it. I think something definitely
But
happens.
for the sake of the audience, would you please repeat the set of your core values so they can refer it back as the point which we just talked about?
Yeah, I think the first part is trust, right? And but it's easier said than done. How do you establish trust? So if you go
Right.
deeper, there's a lot about, because our team was formed from varied backgrounds. There's a lot of learning we put in to each of them, and I think that first step really helped us establish that trust, because if somebody comes with 10% of knowledge, and uh, as a firm, if we are investing without any, we never signed contracts with people, we've never asked people to sign any long term or short term, where we're holding them saying, okay, if we invest, a lot of people ask me, younger companies, in fact, have had those conversations with a lot of people where we said, oh, Roshan, we'll get some people, we'll teach them, we'll also get people who are not from same ecosystem, and what if they don't stay with us, or should we get a
Take
6
issues.
months bond or 1 year bond or 2 years bond, whatever. Said, yeah, but if you are having to, get a sign to make them stay, then how, why do you, what makes you think they'll do efficient work? It probably will have an impact on your customer, the quality. You don't know, there's going to be a bigger impact if you really have to push somebody to stay. And I think I believed, and we've practiced that as a team, and we've seen results. It has worked absolutely. 95% of results are we putting in all in efforts, even today, even after, this is a 6th year of operations. Every week we put in efforts for the entire team to learn something new. uh, it is somebody or the other in the team. If nobody else, I would go step in and make sure there's something that we're learning every week, without expecting much in return. Yeah, of course, the immediate return is try and use that learning in the implementation, but not every learning is for today, or for our firm itself. So everybody is very clearly informed and aware that uh, when we were giving, we were only giving
Right.
with smaller, short-term expect, but everybody knows the learnings that you get in life stay much longer. So yeah,
So
I think the
integrity
bottom
would
line, one
be
of the core values there is give more before you ask, even if it's your own employees, even if it's your own team where you are paying them. Just because you're paying them, you don't expect them to, just give back, give back everything in return. So yeah, give before you ask, I think was one of the primary fundamental thing that established trust. It helped us with other things. So whenever we had to take newer decisions or anything new, the entire team more or less was involved or aware of what's happening. So we make a point. So you can say transparency. It's not 100%. It's hard to say 100%, because if you say 100%, the next question from somebody would be, okay, does everybody know each other's salary? Because that's a very common thing people get into.
exactly.
But I'd say, apart from salaries, pretty much everybody know what's happening, what is their path, what is the next thing, is there enough pipeline projects coming in, what if it comes, what if it doesn't come, to an extent where even if somebody wants to say, okay, I want this kind of role and we can't offer that role or we can't offer that package, we would sit and discuss with them what can they do, what kind of concept they should learn or certification they should do, so that they can get that role or that salary at a different company.
I see.
So which is absolutely clear, it established trust at a different level, because they clearly see that if I am doing it with them, if Roshan is helping me try and get a job at some other place, then he's clearly thinking about me, because what would I get by having our team member go to a different company. So it goes, I think, multi layers in establishing the trust, and once you have it, I think everything else kind of falls in
place.
place, becomes smooth. Their team is not constantly judging our decisions, even if sometimes we go wrong. Openly accepting our mistakes, that's one thing which I don't know this if we can put in all core values, but I'm just going back in time and saying what all things we have done, which I still believe has worked and will continue working. If I understood from somebody that there's a wrong step or a mistake in what I've done, I would absolutely go and say, okay, this was wrong, so we'll change it and we'll do it this way. And team is very well aware of that. They're always welcome to come and tell me, Roshan, I don't think this is right. We should do it this way. It doesn't matter what their experience levels are. And generally, these are about processes and, it's not about technical. We're not talking about solutions here. We're talking about policies, small processes, what we want to do, how we want to do. Uh, Even an outing, if we plan, if somebody says, we don't think this is a good place, we should go there, they know that they can say it. Again, as a team grows, it becomes hard, but as much as possible, they know that communication is always open.
So if I had to pick some things from this entire core value section of um, this podcast, then I would say trust, integrity, invest mindfully, as we talked about the investments, but just like you summarized, invest into how people are, what their growth looks like. So invest meaningfully. And lastly, I would say be open minded enough to learn from the feedback and hence reflect it in the growth of the business too.
Yes.
So,
And if I can add or
mhm,
re-emphasize those 2 points, which is give or truly invest in your team's careers, or I've read it somewhere very famously, teach as if they're going to work for you forever, and treat so that they never leave you. I think it stuck with me. So when I'm talking about giving, truly give. Don't worry about if I tell them too much, they will learn from me. They will start their own business. Or if I tell them too much, they will take this knowledge and go somewhere else. They will not stay here. And I should slow down the process of learning. No, I think when you are giving as much as possible, truly invest in people's career, and that alone can take it, put it in auto mode and keep taking it forward without us realizing.
now as we talked about the core values, right? We understand that you build the business with your core values. You have taken certain decisions based on those values and the state of the business. So let me ask you, how hard was hiring people given that the fund has a cap ultimately, right?
It's a self-funded one end of the day. So the
Right.
the the
So,
the, the best fund is zero fund there, right?
mhm,
So
zero
yeah,
fund.
with yeah, of course, when you talk about hiring, you are the the perfect in a perfect world, people would want to hire,
Mhm.
get them working, and by the end of that month, or the pay cycle comes in, you would expect some money to flow in, if not exactly the salary money, but then the
The
money has
seed.
started flowing in. So that's why I said the best fund before you start hiring is zero fund, because you're expecting business to make money,
Right.
which can be used to pay off all the salaries and rents and etc. But anyways, so I think the question is about
Hiring.
hiring
And
with.
how did you manage to hire such a talent? And given that your core values are so strong, the team has to be equally strong, right?
Okay, this will sound very cliched, the advice that we get from a lot of established founders, and but it stuck with me, and the advice was, like I already mentioned, truly invest in people, and obviously when you have less fund, you can't go hire the top talent. So goes without saying, every founder will agree that they have to invest. It's
Mm-hmm.
only a question of how much, but you have
Mm-hmm.
to invest in learning of the team members.
Okay.
So that was a no-brainer of, okay, we have to teach Salesforce to
Right.
people who are going to join us.
Mm.
The question was, what kind of people do we pick
Mm.
before we start teaching them? Do we
Interesting.
pick random people? Because in our team, we have got people coming from a lot of major MNCs: Deloitte, Infosys, HSBC, Tech Mahindra. I can't remember. I think, yeah, like, oh no, I've named 5 major companies of India or international companies who have come and joined us. So how? The answer was in their hunger, their appetite. We have obviously looked a lot at what did they want as a next step in their careers. So that's
Okay.
something which we do in our interviews even today,
Mm-hmm.
when we are looking at somebody joining us full time, because we do have a lot
Mm-hmm.
of contractors.
Yeah.
At contractors, it's purely skill, Do they have the skill to execute the task? Can we pay if they are in the budget? But
Right.
if somebody has to join us full time, we really look
Mm.
at their short-term goal, 2 years goal, and sometimes a 5 years goal as well, even before they join in an interview itself. So that is why a lot of times our interviews start with me doing the first round, and people tell me that, okay, Roshan, yours should be maybe third round or fourth round. They
Mm.
should first do a tech round and HR round. But we try and filter people at that level of, okay, what is their goal matching with our goal?
Mm.
If the firm is not going in a direction which the individual wants to be in, there's no point in getting them. That is a very good filter to start with.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously their learning appetite, a bit of aptitude check, but there's no aptitude exam that we ever conducted. It was mostly trusting. I personally have the habit of trusting what people tell me. So if you tell me this is what I'm going to do in 2 years, I'm not going to question that or second questions, doubt your statements about it unless your actions are not matching. So once you join and if your actions are not matching, maybe we sit down and discuss again, like maybe what you're planning to do in 2 years is not aligned with what you're trying to do today. So most times people correct their path and adjust. But okay, the filter first one is the paths have to match. Once the paths match, I think the rest of things is about us teaching them. And there's an interesting element here which I should probably definitely touch about, keeping in mind the budgets.
Yeah.
Because there is something which we are giving them the opportunity to step into Salesforce ecosystem, which otherwise if they have to find, they'll have to probably run around a lot of trainings,
Yes.
search for that experience that they want to have on their resume even before they start getting some interview calls, because it's hard to get an interview call unless you put some X amount of experience for a given kind of role.
Definitely.
So
And we are in India, so it becomes even more
I don't know
special.
if it's only in India, but yes, wherever you go, I think people look at experience as a benchmark, and it's hard.
True.
We talk a lot about that, but we look at leveraging their current strengths,
Yes.
as we call it in our terminology, right? Transferable skills. So as long as that individual has got a transferable skill, which is generic in IT industry or even other industry, somebody's got people management and they come join us.
Yeah.
People management remains same. There's nothing specific about Salesforce. Yes, there are a few nuances you always pick up, but so we looked at transferable skills, and we obviously told them the kind of investment that we were going to do without them faking anything. So people were ready to come at a slightly lower market rate than they would have got otherwise, moving around in that same pace scale as well, with a promise that we made that if they start delivering in 3 months time, 6 months time, with different people we had different agreements. Again, no written agreements, it was purely verbal that, hey, what's your target in financially, what's your target in 6-12 months. And we've always told them, okay, if you can get to this delivery or this skill set in 12 months, we will give you that. And thankfully in the last 5 years we have kept all our promises. Whoever has met those skill levels or deliveries levels, they all have been given the numbers that they were promised without waiting for any March or October or any such hike cycle. It's only last year that we said, okay, now it's 5 years, we really should streamline our hike cycles. But it was more about the promises that we made. Again, verbal, there was nothing written.
Right.
So there was, if you see, there is a lot of trust in the hiring process itself, that we are going deep into their personal goals, financial goals, professional goals.
You have been talking about goals so much. So let me pivot towards how did you define the goals? You say short-term, mid-term, and long-term goals. How did you determine that your business should go in certain direction in n number of years with the short-term, mid-term, and long-term in mind? And I am asking that also because from product standpoint, we define these roadmaps, right? But we have a given framework where we know, okay, we have X number of resources and we could possibly get X plus Y number of resources. This side of the world is volatile. So how did you come up with the size of the team, for example, that you would require? And then how did you come up with, okay, I want to expand on the consulting side and not let's say not the product side of things?
Okay, this is equally what I don't know if I should say equally volatile or not, but yes, definitely volatile. So we never went with a target of we have to hire 10 people or 30 people. And and the same point which I mentioned earlier, the credibility that you create, personal brand that you create, thankfully always put me in a space that whenever we need it. So we've never overhired people. Like I said, we leverage a lot of contracting, freelancing efforts nowadays. Thankfully, it's easier because a lot of people have actually started doing full-time freelancing. So it helps finding those people through the LinkedIn network. So the effort that goes in, or the time that goes in LinkedIn helps when we put out an opportunity or an opening, that there are enough people coming and talking to us. A lot of times through references that we know that trustworthy person has referred somebody, and we start this conversation. So in terms of number, nobody ever knows unless you set a target. We never set a target of what we want to achieve and then hire 30 people and then go at it. It was always the business need first, and if there was, unless there was a clear pipeline of 3 to 6 months, we have never tried to hire full-time resources for our team, because we don't believe in hiring and firing. So even when the market was going overflowing, and we had to go almost 2x, you can say, if we had X amount of employees, we had X amount of freelancers. And people said, okay, why not you just hire? This is a lot of cost. We said, yeah, but we don't know. This is just a phase. So if you have such temporary phases, you don't want to get people just because you can get them and then say, oh, sorry, we don't have enough work for you, so bye-bye. We've never had anybody let go in neither in 21 or 23 or in 24. Hopefully that never happens. That's a very strong bottom line. So when you say the volatility or target, we never set target. It's the otherwise. We at least I focus a lot on the business has to drive this part of the growth, and the number of employees don't mean anything if you can't take care of the team. So only when we know, okay, yes, we clearly see there's enough work, or we've been consistently freelancing a certain amount of skill or certain amount of hours of work, only then we say, okay, we need somebody full-time here.
That is a very good strategy. And as you said, you also have to invest in their learning journeys. Now, that is another kind of operational cost.
So this was about the volatility and the targets. You talk about goals.
Yes.
Interestingly, we also do that in our interview itself. So when I say goals, we are putting our definitions. Okay, where do you want to be in 6 months in terms of your role in the Salesforce ecosystem, as well as your financial goal. Same for 2 years. If possible, if the individual has the long-term vision already defined for them, we also try to discover the 5-year part. A lot of times it happens because I also do career counseling quite regularly, that I end up doing, especially for junior resources, I end up doing reverse counseling in the interview itself, where I tell them if the goal is unrealistic, because we all know the SMART goal definition of a goal should be specific, measurable, actionable. Is it actionable? I don't know. Relevant and time bound, right?
Yes.
Is it A is actionable? Never mind. But the point is, the goal should have certain attributes, and simply by saying I'll become an architect in 5 years doesn't mean anything. So if we hear that kind of a very generic kind of goal, I try and break it down and show them probably a way of saying, okay, are you even thinking right? Is it even possible? Maybe it's not possible with us, because if they have clarity of, yeah, I know if I join XYZ company, I know that my friend has got such and such opportunity and I will get there. Absolutely, we don't have to continue this conversation. You can, we don't have to waste your time and our time. So if somebody has an aspiration of, I want to go to Australia, say, okay, fine. Or even say we have a lot of operations in Canada, let's say. We don't want them to assume that just because they join us, they will be in Canada in 2 years. So if their aspiration is, I want to be on site living in US or Canada in 2 years from now, say, wait, then maybe we are not the right people. And we have actually had people who've accepted our offers, but still we have voluntarily gone back and said, please don't continue. Because the moment we got to know at a later point that their future aspiration was that, and we don't have any clear path of visa or work permits. So we are not guaranteeing, or we don't even know if that's going to happen. So you go better identify that firm where you have better probabilities or higher chances of, yes, I have an on-site here, or yes, I have this opportunity. Even the number, if somebody says I want to make 30 lakhs in 4 years, sorry, but we are not probably the right people. But if you know that there's a firm which can pay you, identify those skills and learn and build upon that. If we can help you in that, please let us know. So we are very clearly calling it out. In even if they don't have that clarity, we go and split out what's your 6 months, what's your 2 years, and if possible 5 years. Most likely we talk about 6 and 2 because people have a vision of what they want in 6 and 2.
That would be more realistic.
So yeah, product goals I can talk less about, but
Yes.
people do have goals. Even if they don't know, they have some kind of a aspiration. It may not be a goal always, but it's aspirational or being ambitious. It's not wrong, but yeah, I try and break it down for them, and then match it with our firm's 6 months and 2 years goal or slash aspiration. Because if our firm is not, if we are not thinking in that direction, there's no point having them on board.
That is very tangible of an approach. Now, given that you talked about such heavy investments, and it is not only the learning cost, which is obviously one of the types of operational cost, but also your time and energy that you are investing. Given all of that, just as you said, might not be the right fit. What after so much of an investment, let's say one person from the team leaves. Now, this person could be one which has a very good bond with the team, and then half of the team leaves. What will you do then?
So I'm a very process person. I'm a Dhoni fan, and Dhoni, if anybody watches cricket, would talk a lot about process and less about the outcomes or a specific win that they would get. So whenever something works here, be it what kind of hiring that has happened, what kind of learning is working, or as long as, because like I said, because the approach is the goals are matching and we are aligning and we are trying to invest in their careers. It's very rare that people come and leave in 6 months, 1 year, or 2 years. So far people have not. One or two instances where in the first week itself or first month itself something is not really worked out. And that also have happened because of their personal reasons, not because something is not aligned. So people are not leaving immediately, which means it is they are giving you enough data of 6 months of 1 year of what is making it work with that team that we've built. So I'm constantly observing all of that and creating processes of, okay, how do we keep the team running? One of the biggest processes, again it comes back to learning, is it's not just me who's constantly teaching and saying we are investing.
Right.
Because people
You are
who have
also
come,
learning from them.
it's not just themselves. So when they come, they know that they're learning from me or somebody in the team.
Right.
We are investing in them.
Yes.
And all we ask for is, look, the next person who's coming also is coming from a similar background of yours. So be equally giving to that new individual, that next person who is coming in.
So be the co-pilot.
Correct. So it has a cascading effect.
Yes.
And today we can proudly say we started something called as each one teach one. Each one teach one is a name that we gave, where we said each member in the team teaches one topic or presents one session every week of the month. So every Friday, if you are in our firm or in our team, remotely or in person, there is a 1 hour meeting. It's a round robin. Everybody gets a chance. So whoever is here, they pick up a topic. Sometimes they take an approval. Sometimes if they think they pick the right topic, they will pick it up themselves. The topic is there for themselves. There's a given. I have given them a structure of how to present so that they're learning. They're improving their presentation skills as well. Right. No matter whether there's a developer, QA, consultant, manager. No, doesn't matter who you are in the company. If you are in the team, you have to present on one of those Fridays.
And can I get crashed these sessions maybe one day?
Yeah, if you want, we'll absolutely share the invite, because as long as we're not picking up a client use case and discussing with the team, because that obviously is not possible.
Which is a great flavor of teachings. You are giving them actual real world experience.
Yes. So the idea is this: they can pick up a topic, a new concept. They can pick up a use case which they've experienced in one of the projects, because not everybody gets to work on every project.
Right.
So they can pick up use case, new concept, release notes, anything. But the point is they have to bring that into a session with a deck, possibly with a demo, end with a quiz. We make sure that there is a quiz so that everybody is
attentively
listening. Yeah. And whoever wins the quiz gets an Amazon voucher. So there's a bit of gamification involved, and there is rewards for also. We give feedback to the team. together gives feedback to that presenter.
Yeah.
So it is giving them an opportunity to become better versions of themselves,
Yep.
so that they can give better demos in future or wherever they want to do that. So so you see, this itself is going on for 3 years now, and I learned this when our first employee left, because I felt I didn't realize this until the first person left. So when you asked, right, when one person leaves, what happens? So when the first person left, I sat down and I thought a lot about this, and this is when. So this started back then. Initially, it was me who was teaching, but now, as I said, it's the entire team. Everybody looks up to that Friday. We play Kahoots, we have games, we fight about those questions and answers, and yeah. So as you see, the cycle is not stopping.
Yes.
And
growth ignites growth.
yeah, and because they can empathize with that person. So if you are an 8 years experienced person coming from an X technology into Salesforce, you know the kind of situation you are in, trying to showcase as an expert. You are not a fresher, but there are things that you know, there are things that you don't know. You don't know who to ask. But in our team, we've built the culture of anybody can ask anything to anybody. So because like I said, if I'm an 8 years experienced person, but there is a 3-year experienced guy who's fully into Salesforce, highly likely that guy knows more than me. So we've created this culture, helps in asking question more openly, without, maybe this guy is managing that person, but he'll still go and very openly ask, hey, can you help me here? And the other person is not judging ki, oh, you are the manager and you don't even know this, because we are clearly within the team openly establishing where they've come from, what is their background, so that there is no, nobody's trying to cover up their past and say, hey, I'm an expert.
Right.
And you're trying to, live up to that name or brand that you put up, and then struggle. So the stress is taken out of living up to that particular position.
You have this very amazing open culture, I would call it, where one would have beginner's mindset, and at the same time, it reflects on the value of having the open-mindedness. Now, I would like to understand, you talked about I am very process-oriented person. So what kind of processes did you set up? And how did those come to you? How have those been proven valuable with time?
Initially, I've come from an MNC culture. I've worked for Infosys for more than 8 years. Initially, I thought, okay, we just have to pick up policies from here and there, and maybe it'll work. But I think we didn't even implement a single policy, which I kind of collected from various companies and people from my own experience, because I realized very soon that our size is different, our style is different, our mindset is different than any of those. The challenges that a large company faces is different from ours. So we dumped all of that.
Okay.
And then we said, even today we do that. Okay, let's try and solve this situation. And whatever gaps come in, so if we say this is the rule, you obviously have gaps in the rules that you make. We always try to solve situation. We never try to solve situations by giving a solution to that situation, but we try to think of what process or what addition to the process can ensure that this will not happen again.
Right.
Maybe, I can give more specific example. Let's say a simple policy we have is in a team meeting, we want people to be on video, because we are hybrid. We have remote people and we also have people who are in office, and we want to be even out. So we don't want office people to feel, oh, we've never seen those remote guys. Now I don't want to each time and go solve this problem like, hey Lucky, can you turn on your screen?
Right.
Hey Chandra, can you go turn on the screen? It is so, and it can depend on my mood. Sometimes I may be happy and I say with a smile. Sometimes I may not be happy and I can come and like maybe shout at you, or maybe be mean to you and say, how many times do I have to tell you? Why don't you understand? So it cannot be dependent on a person's mood.
Yeah.
And we don't want to bring in emotion to solve that problem.
Yes.
In this simple example, so we just said,
Sure.
okay, it's a process that when you're on team video calls during work hours, unless there are exceptions, we obviously always have exceptions, right? We want you to be on video. And then you may ask, okay Roshan, but this is very simple thing, what if they don't follow? Because this is a very this is something which doesn't harm. You can't go and hit their performance or remove,
Someone might have a kid and they might be roaming around. They are not
but we don't
comfortable
mind
or
that. See,
some.
as a team, when you know that, when we all know what's happening at each other's house, right?
Yes.
As long as we can, we have got virtual backgrounds, noise cancelling earphones.
Of
That's why I
course.
said they can be exceptions, but as a regular simple example.
Mm.
But this is too simple a rule to be followed by everybody. So
Mm.
we gamified this as well. We said,
Oh.
yeah, we have a hits and misses. If you can see that board over there,
Oh.
we have hits and misses. So any such smaller processes. So these are not
Uh-huh.
project process or performance, something which we can include in your performance evaluation when we say, okay, you
But your
did not
day-to-day
do this,
operations.
you did not do this, and that's why we'll give you 10% less bonus. This is too
Mm.
small a problem, too small an element to be included at that level.
At that level.
But at the same time, we want to have a process which can, streamline this. So we said,
Yeah.
okay, we'll just say all such small ones. We identified such small but impactful elements.
Mm.
We said, if when you don't do these things, we'll have a score, +1, -1, +1, -1. And we defined something, okay, if you're under 30, this is what it means. If you're between 30 to 50, this is what it means. So the moment you put score to it, nobody wants a negative score against your name. It's just human
Obviously.
mindset that you don't want a minus score. You always want to be in the good books for yourself, if not for somebody else. You don't like, and it also gives them the opportunity, because this is data as well.
Yes.
When we say, okay, you're not on video today, hey, like just go and we put a point there.
Yeah.
And they can see those points. They're informed about those points. It's not in the background. They are very well informed of those points. And then they also want to correct that. Okay, I think it's 4 times that I've done this in month. I want to do better next month or next cycle.
Right.
So the moment you put data and processes, then there's no emotion there, right? Then it's not left to a manager or Roshan to go and each time go to a situation and solve it. Because when there is a gap in this, so like I said, in this case, we set first the video, but we saw it was not happening. We said, okay, how do I not each time go and include my emotion in telling them? So we tried to solve the process. So yeah, such small, simple processes. So when we say process, it's not like heavy. There's a lot of gamification. There's a lot of things, such small things which have helped us.
True. Now that we have talked about a lot of business management, people skills, and processes, I would like to understand the strategization part of the things. We have covered lots of topics today.
Okay.
Obviously, that doesn't come without strategy and without right timing. I'm sure that throughout your journey, you might have had such situations where you would have had hard time deciding which decision should be taken when. So what strategies went into making those decisions, and if you can talk about some failures too.
So I think strategy itself is a very big word. But because you mentioned some situations, decisions that we took which worked and didn't work, it goes down to the core value a little bit. Until now, or previously, the core values that I talked about are more about how we run and how we hire, and as a company, what do we believe in.
Right.
But when you talk about decision making, it is somewhat linked that the decision that we take, how is it going to impact us financially, but also the team. For example, when we started, we were a training, a career building company.
Yeah.
But we eventually moved into implementations, and fully into implementation at a point where we almost dropped. Our heart is still into career building. I still teach whenever I get a chance. I've not taught in the recent past, but we do. We still talk. Like I said, it's in our DNA. So you see it in our weekly meetings. There is the teaching. All of that is there.
Yes.
But the team that we built, or very initial phase, in the very initial phase itself, we realized that people who are teaching, we had some couple of trainers as well in the past. A lot of people wanted to move into implementations and consulting because that is how they saw growth. So initially, when you see, you have to do some of those things because it is going to help them go forward, and also bring in more money than compared to career building. So it is very obvious that you have to get X amount of money to take care of this, and you did that. Today we do only this. But if I still have to take a decision of hiring or a new space that we get into or the time that we dedicate, it has to boil down to what does it mean to the team and their growth.
Right.
Because I can't go and tell everybody to leave the company because we can't meet that goal.
Of course.
Unless we totally pivot. When we say pivot is entirely changing from moving from a service based industry to a product based, because today we are fully service based. But if we decide to become product based, I think the strategies change, the numbers change, the kind of people you want, I think it changes a lot.
Yes.
So unless that heavy pivot happens,
Mm-hmm.
we'll continue doing services because we have a team and we believe in long term, we believe in sustainability, we've set some goals for them. As long as those goals are we are able to be on that path, we'll continue doing that. And if at all we have to do anything extra on top of this, I will ensure that we are building a separate team. The money is probably balanced enough, which does not impact the current team and their aspirations. Because if we take the entire money from here and put it there, it's just not right from a business perspective, I feel, because they have made this money and it should be used for their betterment and in the similar industry, unless it's a lot of money and there's something very easy investment that I want to get into. So I think that's the decision making way. Again, if you see, it is going back to people, their families and their goals. So because I strongly and truly believe that if they are the ones who are making us successful, and if we are not thinking about their well-being and their aspirations, it will eventually fail. It may not directly happen, but today 90% of our team uh, works on those projects or feels owns this company without me telling them to own their work.
So you're basically a socialist capitalist.
If you can call it, you can call it. But I would definitely say socialist. I believe in equal distribution, or I wouldn't say equal. I don't think I would do the same. There's nothing equal, but a fair distribution than having everything at one place. So if you call it as socialist, yeah, it is. But yeah, of course, you need money to be able to do that. And that money comes through them. So again, it goes back to the people.
You said that you gravitated towards the consulting side of things, and the coaching part still stays the core DNA, core fabric of the company and of your core values too. Now, how would that come into the existence of the company till the company exists, and with what external factors being involved in this scenario?
I would defer to the words used there, because we didn't gravitate towards consulting. We formed partnerships which would get us business.
Okay.
But if you look at my role, because I've got some partners as well. So somebody's getting the business, somebody's running the show, somebody's running the team. So a major part of my responsibility is still the team that I'm building in operations, which again comes to coaching. So I don't think I've moved away from coaching. I'm probably coaching every day, every month, every week.
So you have expanded, you have added.
It's just a different way of looking at how you coach. So coaching, like we discussed again, coaching need not be a training / you form a batch and you teach 10 people ABC. Coaching is constant because, like I said, our entire team at some point I'm the one who's talking about their goals, what can they do as much as possible. If I'm not in the capacity, the day I would feel I don't have an answer to their question, I've gone out, asked people questions about, okay, this is the situation, what do you think about it? And I've come back and answered them. And sometimes like today you are here, I would have them ask you questions if there is something which they can learn from you. So coaching has not stopped. It's just a different phase of coaching. It's limited to our team, and a lot of people also have joined because, in fact, we actually get people to join us because of, okay, Roshan, I think there's something which we can learn here because the culture is something which we relate to, and we want to be here because we want to be on the path of to a certain point from A to B, and maybe B to C is not you, but A to B is we can help you get to A to B. So coaching is not stopped. It's just that I mean, coaching,
you just
or rather
gave a cookie point to our viewers and opened the gates even more. But
yeah, it's just that we don't hire as often as much,
yeah.
but that helps a lot. That's why I said it's a very long interview process, because it's more me talking than me asking questions, because we want them to fully understand our culture, what we do, and then they can decide whether they want to join us or not.
True.
And now talking about the other part of coaching, how I could still continue, because you don't coach every day to your team members, right? The Trailblazer community has helped me keep that spirit alive, because the events that I've hosted, the webinars, the sessions that we give, uh, I also started the Salesforce Club, where I've done random things, but a lot of something which you've done more than other aspect is career counseling. And it's just nothing but open-ended, it's just an open Q&A where people come and ask questions, and it's not teaching a concept, but it is still a lot of career coaching that I do, and so far I've got good response. Not everybody takes action, that's another thing.
True.
But at least the advice is always appreciated. So that makes me believe that there's still something which I can keep adding to people's career.
But hey, personally, you build that credibility because I have firsthand heard some people saying how you have contributed to their career journey.
Maybe it's time I go and get some testimonials, or video
High time.
testimonials from them, and ask them to post it. Maybe, I don't know, our website, social media, wherever.
Yeah.
But yeah, please
Totally.
give me those names after this conversation. I
We'll
don't know if we
do,
can do that
we'll
on
do.
camera, but please give me those names.
Yes, definitely. And on that note, congratulations on impacting so many careers positively.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations on building the businesses successfully, as well as the expansion and the strategies. And thank you for being our host of the day.
Thank you, because a lot of things that you talked about today probably are not discussed on a public platform in an elaborative way. We spoke about processes, and you asked a lot about hiring and the nitty-gritties. I'm glad that I got an opportunity to talk about that. So yeah, I hope it helps you and our viewers as well.
Budding entrepreneurs and progressing leaders.
Yeah, whatever words we want to use, I'm less of the terminology, but as long as there is something which connects, and somebody wants to talk more, they can always look at our social profiles and get more questions.
And with that, I think our viewers would have found this investment a meaningful one. On that note, I would like to show my gratitude for participating in our podcast and sharing all the valuable lessons and strategies with us today. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. It has been an honor to have you here with us today.
Been pleasure. So happy. Thank you so much, and
Thank
all the
you.
best.